In 1797, in a sleepy village called Deepaladimma in modern-day Andhra Pradesh, an Englishman stumbled upon the ruins of an ancient stupa. He didn't know what it was, but he sensed that he was looking at something invaluable. At that time, this Englishman was on military duty, so he informed his bosses and moved on to other things. Many years passed. In 1816, he went back to the same site. But by then, the site had been vandalized. The locals had used stones from the mound to build their houses. Despite that loss, he found many beautiful pieces still lying scattered around. Thankfully, this Englishman, Colonel Colin Mackenzie, was by then the Surveyor General of Madras Presidency, and he had a deep fascination for Indian history and culture. He documented what he saw and shipped off many of the finer pieces to museums in London, Calcutta, and Madras. Why are they significant? Today, we know that these pieces are over 2000 years old, and they are some of the earliest examples of Buddhist art in the world. Colin Mackenzie had stumbled upon the ruins of the ancient city of Amaravati, the capital city of the mighty Satavahanas.
Here at the Egmore Museum in Chennai, you can see the largest collection of those antique stones, the Amravati Marbles. This is the story of the Buddhist relics of Amravati.
Over 2000 years ago, in the year 260 BCE, a fierce battle was fought on the plains of Kalinga, part of present-day Odisha. That battle changed the course of religious history in India and many parts of Southeast Asia. Emperor Ashoka, the king of Mauryas, won the battle, but he was horrified by the loss of thousands of lives on the battlefield. Just like that, he decided to lay down his weapons. He made it his mission to spread Buddhism, a religion that preached non-violence. He inscribed Buddha's teachings on pillars and stone slabs and installed them across India. These Ashokan edicts are some of the earliest known stone sculptural remains from India. Buddhism was still in its early days, but it had got itself a powerful ambassador.
But 100 years before Ashoka, something else happened in India that was also instrumental in the spread of Buddhism. A clue comes from this small statue here. This is a very old statue of Hercules that sits next to relics of Buddha at the Egmore Museum. What is a Greek hero statue doing next to Buddhist relics? To answer that, we'll have to travel even further back in time.
In 326 BCE, India faced a powerful foreign invasion, the army of the Greek king Alexander the Great. Alexander spent only a short time in the Indian subcontinent, but he left behind many of his senior nobles. Their descendants formed the Indo-Greek dynasties that ruled for over 2 centuries. The most prominent of them were the Kushans. They ruled over a region called Gandhara, present-day Kandahar in Afghanistan.
It was here that the Gandhara School of Art developed around the 2nd century BCE. The Kushans were great patrons of Buddhism, and their style of art depicted Buddhist themes in a style that was heavily influenced by Greek sensibilities. It was the Gandhara artists who made the earliest statues of Buddha. Their art reached its peak between the 3rd and the 6th centuries, when the Gupta dynasty was ruling over much of North India.
But Buddha is believed to have died in 483 BCE, so it makes you wonder, why aren't there any older statues of Buddha? That's because in the earliest phase of Buddhism, it was considered improper to depict Buddha in his human form. You see, Buddha never called himself a god. In fact, all his teachings are not focused on God, but on leading a virtuous life. So his earliest followers never worshipped his image. In fact, for centuries after his death, it was even forbidden to create idols or images of Buddha. Instead, sculptors of the time used various symbols to represent Buddha and inspire devotees. And it is these ancient relics that Colin Mackenzie dug up. These relics of Amaravati were probably built in phases between the 3rd century CE and about 250 CE. And this is the oldest Buddhist art collection in the world. The relics include early symbols of Buddha, such as Buddha's footprints and his begging bowl.
Look at this sculpture. You can see many gods joyously lifting Buddha's begging bowl towards the heavens. The begging bowl here represents Buddha himself, and this sculpture tells the story of Buddha's ascent to heaven.
Other common symbols included the lotus and the wheel. The lotus conveyed the idea that just as this beautiful flower rises out of the slush, one must rise beyond earthly desires to achieve enlightenment. The wheel with 8 spokes reminded one of the eightfold path of Buddhism.
So who created these sculptures? It was a dynasty that traded with the Romans, a dynasty whose reign lasted longer than the Mughals. They were called the Satavahanas. They were probably feudatories of the Mauryan Empire, and after Ashoka's death, they declared independence. Between 230 BCE and 220 CE, the Satavahanas controlled a vast territory in the central part of the Indian peninsula. One of their capitals was Amaravati in modern-day Andhra Pradesh, the very same place where Colin Mackenzie discovered these antique stones.
Their central location allowed them to serve as a bridge between North and South India. Religion and culture traveled back and forth across Satavahana lands. The Satavahanas were Hindu kings, but were tolerant of other religions, including Buddhism, which was spreading fast in southern India. They allowed Buddhist monasteries to come up along important trade routes. By the end of the Satavahana reign, there was a trail of Buddhist art all over their territory. The first caves of Ajanta were carved in their time. The gateways of the famous Sanchi Stupa were also constructed by the Satavahanas, and they built several huge Buddhist stupas in their kingdom. That included the Amaravati Stupa. Around 640 CE, the Chinese traveler Xuanzong visited Amravati and praised it for its beauty. But after the 7th century, Buddhism started declining in India. The monument was neglected, abandoned, and soon forgotten, until Mackenzie rediscovered its remains.
The style of sculpting mastered by the Satavahanas came to be known as the Amaravati style. It was a style that deeply influenced later Hindu art of the Pallava and Chola periods. The Egmore Museum has the largest collection of these priceless Amaravati sculptures. Apart from Buddhist symbols, they also depict Buddhist fables or scenes from Buddha's life, the Jatakas. We'll talk in more detail about these fables in another video.
So the next time you're in Chennai, do take some time out to check out the Amaravati collection at the Government Museum in Egmore. A magical window to a time when both splendor and spirituality thrived. And when you visit, do check out these simple stone caskets tucked away in one corner amidst all the beautifully carved sculptures in the gallery. Do you know what these objects are?
Way back in the past, stone caskets like these were used to store the cremated remains of Lord Buddha himself. Sounds incredible? You can watch that story in this video.
We hope you liked this story. We've got plenty more stories to share. Do subscribe to our channel and you'll know when the next one comes out.